So in today's video, we're going to be talking about how much money do you really need to start property investing in the UK. So one of the questions that I get asked most is, how much money do you actually need to start property investing? Because online, you hear a lot of people say, buy a property with £5,000, or use other people's money, or you can start property with no money whatsoever. But in reality, that isn't how it works for most people. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how much money I needed to buy my first buy-to-let property. These are not estimates, these are real numbers. We'll go through the deposit, stamp duty, solicitor fees, mortgage fees, renovation costs, insurance, safety certificates, and any hidden costs that people don't usually talk about. By the end of this video, you'll have a realistic idea of how much money you need to invest in property in the UK. Okay guys, quick disclaimer before we begin. This isn't financial advice. I'm simply sharing my personal experience with you. Every situation is different, so do your own research and speak to professionals before making any decisions yourself. Okay, so we'll begin with my property that I currently own. So I own a 3-bedroom semi-detached house in Middlewich in Cheshire. I bought this property in May 2022. The purchase price was £160,000. Now, the thing that most people don't realise, that when they are buying their first buy-to-let property, the lenders require a 25% mortgage. So instantly, you can't buy a house with a 5k deposit or a 10k deposit. You need 25% upfront. So for my property, the purchase price was £160,000 and I had to put down a 25% deposit. So that was £40,000 that I needed upfront. So like the very first amount of money that I needed was £40,000, which is crazy when you're just starting out a new business venture. So this leaves you with a mortgage of £120,000 if your purchase price was £160,000. But the deposit is only the beginning, because once you buy an investment property, there's lots of additional costs that people just don't tell you about. So next comes stamp duty. So when you buy an additional property in the UK, you have to pay an extra 3% surcharge. So for my property, the stamp duty came to £4,800. So already the total cash needed, you've got the deposit, which is £40,000, and then you have the stamp duty on top of that, which is £4,800. So the total already is £44,800. So now we need to talk about solicitor fees and legal fees. So you need a solicitor to handle the property purchase. That includes the searches and the legal paperwork. So for me, this roughly costs around £1,500, and this includes conveyancing fees, searches, land registry documents, and any other legal costs. So now add £1,500 onto the total, and that is £46,300 to buy your first property. So let's talk about mortgage fees. Most buy-to-let mortgages have additional fees attached to them. So these can include arrangement fees, broker fees, or valuation fees. Now in my case, the mortgage fees were £1,000. So now this brings the total to £47,300. And remember, we haven't even renovated the property yet. So let's talk about the renovation costs now. Because for all of you, it will be different depending on which property you buy. So for me, I roughly spent about £10,000 renovating the property, and this included new carpets, painting upstairs, staircase repair, plumbing fixes, laminate flooring downstairs, new lighting inside and out, cleaning it thoroughly and getting plumbers and electricians to come over to fix little bits in the property. So that came to about £10,000. So now the costs of this buy-to-let property are £57,300. And now that the property is renovated, you want to go to a letting agent so that they can let out the property for you. And they're going to ask you for some safety certificates. So you're going to need gas safety certificates, you're going to need electrical safety certificates, you're going to need smoke alarms, and you're going to need carbon monoxide alarms. So these cost between £200 to £300 in total, but then you'll end up paying letting setup fees. So let's round it up to about £500. So now the new total is £57,800. And now you'll have to buy insurance, because usually when you take out a buy-to-let mortgage, they require you to have landlord insurance before the tenant moves in. So mine roughly costs me about £200 per year. Now technically that's not part of the purchase cost, but it is an added cost that you might not think about when you get started. So let's add it all together. So you've got the deposit at £40,000. You have stamp duty fees at £4,800. You have legal fees at £1,500. You have mortgage costs at £1,000. You have renovation at £10,000. And you also have the safety and setup for about £500. So your total is £57,800. So realistically, to buy my first property, I needed about £58,000 in cash. And that is something people don't realise. Buying a property is expensive. Now you're probably thinking, could you do it cheaper? And yes, you could. Not much cheaper, but yes, you can do it cheaper. So you could buy a cheaper property, you could do less renovation, you could use different mortgage deals. But the reality is, most buy-to-let purchases in the UK usually cost between £40,000 to £80,000 up front. Depends on the property. So you spent £58,000 buying this property, renovating this property, and then finding a tenant. But what happens next? Well, the costs just keep on spiralling. So you've got the mortgage interest, which you have to pay every single month. You've got management fees. You've got insurance. You have repairs on the property, and you've also got your tax implications. So property investing is very much a long-term strategy. So you might be asking, why would I get into property when the costs are so high to get into it, and it's just going to keep costing me money every single year? Well, even though the upfront cost is high, property does have some advantages. So you've got your rental income, which you get every single month. You have the property value growth. You have leverage using mortgages, and you've got the ability to recycle equity every couple of years. So over time, that is how portfolios grow. So hopefully that gives you a clearer picture of the real costs of investing in the UK. For me personally, my first property cost me about £58,000, but it might be different for you guys. So I'm going to keep making videos like this. If you are interested in following my journey, please hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.